There are names in history that even their enemies speak with respect. Hannibal Barca is one of them. To Rome, he was not just an enemy. He was a nightmare with a brilliant mind. The Romans used to say, if hell needed a general, it would choose Hannibal. This was not only the name of a brave warrior, but of a genius strategist. Imagine a young boy standing beside an altar. His father, Hamilcar Barca, places his hand on a stone. The boy repeats after him. His eyes burn like small flames. Hamilcar asks, "Do you swear eternal hatred against Rome?" And the boy answers, "I swear." That promise did not belong only to a child. It became the beginning of one of Rome's greatest fears. Hannibal grew up and did what most men would never even dare to dream. He crossed the Alps with war elephants, snow, hunger, storms, cliffs, yet he did not turn back. The Roman Republic, so proud and so powerful, suddenly felt something new: fear. Because the enemy was no longer behind the border. The enemy was inside Italy. Hannibal did not only fight with swords, he fought with intelligence. On the battlefield, he could read the enemy's mind, break their formations, and turn their strength into weakness. His name became a warning. Hannibal is at the gates. It was not used to scare children. It was used to wake the adults. This video tells the story of the man who bent Rome to its knees. From a boy who swore an oath to a commander crossing mountains with elephants to the master of tactics at Cannae. This is not just a war story. It is a story of willpower, revenge, genius, and destiny. If you are ready, we begin. Fact 1. He is considered Rome's greatest enemy. The Romans had many enemies: kings, rebels, tribes, rising empires. But one name stood above all the others: Hannibal Barca. To the Romans, he was not just an opponent. He was the greatest threat Rome had ever faced. They used to say, as long as Rome exists, the name Hannibal will be feared. Why? Because Hannibal did something no one else dared. He did not fight Rome far from its borders. He invaded Italy itself. He crossed the Alps with his army and war elephants, marched straight into Roman territory, and shattered Rome's pride with victory after victory. At the Battle of Cannae, he destroyed almost an entire Roman army. That battle is still taught in military academies today. In the Roman Senate, one sentence became famous: Hannibal is at the gates. It was not just fear, it was an admission. Hannibal was the greatest enemy Rome had ever known. And the most striking part? Even while they hated him, the Romans also admired him, because great empires measure themselves by the greatness of their enemies. One of the most unbelievable chapters of Hannibal's life begins not on a battlefield, but on a mountain. The Alps were not simply mountains. They were walls of ice between Hannibal and Rome. Most generals would have turned back. Hannibal did the opposite. He looked at snow, blizzards, cliffs, and death and said, "We go forward." With him marched an army of soldiers and something the Romans never expected: war elephants. The journey was a nightmare. Narrow paths hanging over abysses, snowstorms that erased the road, rocks falling from above, men and animals slipping into the void. They had no warm clothing, little food, and no guarantee that anyone would survive. But Hannibal walked in front. He didn't send his men, he led them. He spoke to his soldiers. Beyond these mountains is not death. Beyond these mountains is Rome. Those elephants became more than animals. They became symbols. To the enemy, they meant terror. To Hannibal's army, they meant hope, proof that the impossible could be done. When the Carthaginian army finally descended from the Alps, frozen, wounded, but alive, Italy looked up and realized something shocking. The enemy had arrived from where no enemy could come. That moment changed the psychology of the war. Hannibal had not only crossed mountains, he had crossed the limits of what people believed was possible. Fact 3, he was one of the first commanders to attack Roman soil directly. Most of Rome's enemies fought Rome from far away. They attacked allies, border towns, or distant provinces. Hannibal did something different, something almost unthinkable for his time. He took the war into Italy itself. After crossing the Alps, Hannibal did not stop at the border. He marched straight into the heart of Roman territory. For Rome, this was a shock. The republic that had terrified others for centuries now tasted fear on its own land. Roman citizens looked out from their cities and saw a foreign army led by a man they had only heard about in stories, and he was now in Italy. Hannibal burned Roman supply lines, defeated Roman legions on their own soil, and forced Rome to fight for survival. He changed the rules of the game. Before Hannibal, Rome usually chose where wars were fought. After Hannibal, Rome learned a painful lesson. Even the strongest empire can have the enemy at its door. That is why historians say Hannibal did not just attack Rome's armies, he attacked Rome's confidence. And for a time, he almost broke it. Fact 4. The genius of Cannae. The Battle of Cannae, 216 BC, is the battle where Hannibal proved he was not just brave, he was a strategic genius. Rome came with one of the largest armies in its history. They believed sheer numbers would crush Hannibal. Hannibal let them think that. He formed his army in a curved line. The middle pushed forward toward the Romans. It looked weak. It looked like it would break. That was the trap. The Romans attacked the center with all their strength. Step by step, Hannibal's center fell back on purpose, pulling them in deeper. Then the decisive moment came. Hannibal's troops on both flanks closed in. His cavalry attacked from behind. The Roman army suddenly realized they were completely surrounded. No space to move. No way to escape. It became one of Rome's worst defeats in history. Today, military academies still study Cannae because Hannibal proved strategy beats strength, intelligence beats numbers. At Cannae, Hannibal didn't just win a battle. He created one of the greatest tactics the world has ever seen. Fact 5. He never lost a major battle. Hannibal fought many battles against Rome, and he almost never lost. He defeated larger armies, better supplied armies, and armies fighting on their own land. Commanders changed, consuls changed, but results stayed the same. Hannibal wins. His secret was not luck, it was preparation. He studied terrain, weather, morale, and he always forced Rome to fight his kind of battle. For years, Rome could not beat him on the field. They had to avoid him because face-to-face. Fact 6. He was a master of psychological warfare. Hannibal didn't only fight with swords. He fought with fear. He appeared where Rome thought no army could come. He attacked when they felt safe. He disappeared when they thought they trapped him. He used elephants not just as weapons, but as symbols of terror. Rumors about him spread faster than armies. Roman mothers whispered, "Be quiet, Hannibal is near." He broke morale before he broke formations. That is psychological warfare, and Hannibal was a master of it. Fact 7. His war elephants changed the battlefield. To ancient soldiers, an elephant was not just an animal. It was a moving wall of noise, dust, and terror. When Hannibal sent elephants forward, horses panicked, lines broke, and soldiers ran before the fight even began. Not all elephants survived the Alps, but the ones that did became legends. They were living proof that Hannibal could do what everyone else thought impossible. Even today, when people picture Hannibal, they picture elephants. Fact 8. He almost defeated Rome completely. There was a moment in history when Rome, the future empire of the world, stood on the edge of collapse. That moment was created by Hannibal. After Cannae, Rome had lost armies, generals, cities, and hope. Allies began to switch sides. Senators feared the worst. Some historians say, if Hannibal had marched straight on Rome, history might look very different. He came closer to destroying Rome than any other commander in history. Fact 9. Rome feared and admired him at the same time. Hannibal was Rome's greatest enemy, but also one of the men they respected most. Roman historians wrote about his courage, his self-control, his ability to inspire soldiers. He slept on the ground with his men, ate the same food, shared the same cold and dust. Even after defeating him, Roman generals studied his tactics, because deep down they knew Rome became stronger by trying to defeat Hannibal. Fact 10. He chose death rather than capture. Years later, hunted across the Mediterranean, Hannibal was finally cornered. Romans wanted him alive. Hannibal refused. He took poison he had carried for years for this exact moment. His last words were said to be, "Let us now free Rome from her long fear of an old man." Even in death, he took control of his own fate. He was not just a general, he was a symbol of defiance until his final breath.